How are the folks on the Sports Hub handling the Patriots 2-8-ness? Albert, is it nice and even keel? What do you have?
Yeah, I would say even keel is probably not the right phrase to describe what's going on here and what's been going on here over the last few days. I think it's interesting, Rich, because it almost feels like a fait accompli now. Like there's going to be a separation, and I honestly, there's only three people that really know if that's the truth, and that's, two of them have the last name Kraft and the other one is the greatest coach of all time. But it does feel, at least in this market, like this thing is coming to an end. And the question now is going to be what it looks like at the very end, because right now, the three of those guys have a football team that can't get out of its own way and looks like it's going to continue circling the drain, and a pretty healthy rebuild in front of them. And I mean, look, like again, like it's only those three guys that know. And I mean, as far as Belichick's future, it may only be the two. It may only be Robert and Jonathan that know whether or not decisions have been made. But certainly it's there's no precedent for it around here. But it certainly seems like there's going to be some pretty significant change in the offseason.
Well, I mean, again, it's not just any coach you're talking about. You refer to him as the greatest coach of all time, and it's not just any coach we're talking about in New England, obviously, as well. The Patriots love putting red jackets on people who brought those Lombardi trophies, and Bill is obviously going to be one of them, or at least that would be the plan. And, you don't just fire him like he's co-tight, in the middle of a bye week, too. You know what I mean? Like, that's not what happens either, but I totally understand what you're saying about getting the sense that this is over. So wouldn't there be some sort of maybe conversation to say, what do you want, Bill? And if there is some other team that might be interested in offering compensation or anything like that, is that a possibility?
And I would advocate for that. I would say this would appear to be the time because they're on their bye now.
Right.
Obviously they're 2-8. And, I think it would behoove Robert Kraft to go to Bill and say, how do you want to do this? Like, if this is it, how do you want to do this? And at least put cards on the table and be honest with each other. They had an up and down, relationship, obviously, but to great success across the board. And, I think that the idea of like how the separation is going to happen is very, very important to Robert Kraft. And I don't think that he wants to outright fire him. I think he would rather have this be mutual. He would rather have some way of celebrating the last 24 years and everything that Belichick's given to the organization. The question becomes whether or not Bill's going to go along with that.
Yeah.
And I think, that all relates to Bill's next steps. Now, everyone that I know that knows Bill really well, and I'm not getting this from the horse's mouth, but the people I know that know Bill really, really well, they all think he still wants to keep coaching. No one thinks he's like done coaching. And like if he still wants to keep coaching, that's where this could get a little awkward, right? Because if the Patriots want a mutual parting, does that mean if he goes to another team, they're looking for compensation? And if they want compensation, does Bill just say to them, okay, well, just fire me? That's where it could get awkward. If this was like a true retirement, that's one thing. Then, you can work out something that's like, okay, like we're going to announce it, in week 17 or week 18. And then we're going to allow for the fans to say goodbye to you. And we're going to have a ceremony and we're going to do all this different stuff. Like if this was a true retirement, that's, what you would be looking at. If Bill still wants to coach, then it's something else. And it goes to, do the Crafts want compensation for him if he's going to go to another team? And if Bill knows that they'd want compensation for him, does Bill say, I don't want whatever team it is that's going to come and get me, giving up draft picks for me? So you know what, Robert, just fire me. It could come to that, So I think that there's a lot of things that could get awkward here. I just think like overall, the better way to handle it, if you're going to do it, and if they've made the decision that they're going to do it, is to start that discussion now. Because I think you and I both know where this gets really awkward is if you wait until New Year's. You wait until you're a week out or 2 weeks out. And now all of a sudden, like you're having this conversation when decision time is right there. to me, like doing it during the bye week, doing it right now makes a lot of sense because it gives at least everybody runway to work something out.
Well, this is going to play out in front of a lot of people, straight up, Albert, not just because of who we're talking about, but by the fact, I mean that the game that I just called on NFL Network, nationally, internationally, if you will, is the first of 3 nationally televised Patriots games over the next month. They've got this is front and center. They've got a Thursday night game at Pittsburgh and then a Monday nighter at home against Kansas City and then a Sunday nighter. I'm in the booth for this one too on Christmas night. That's a nationally televised game on NFL Network on New Year's Eve. Christmas Eve night.
Christmas Eve, yeah.
I'm calling the whole country is going to watch 3 straight Patriot games in a row, and they, who knows what they'll be going into those games.
Right. And Rich, not to interrupt you, but those standalone, we saw it on Monday night. Like those standalone games can take on a different tenor and tone.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Buffalo, like if that happens at 1 o'clock on Sunday, is the reaction the same? I mean, it's not good for the Bills either way, but I don't know that the reaction is quite the same if that's not a standalone game. So like we know, I think for a fact, like those standalone games do take on a different tone and tenor because it's the only game on, and so all the conversation, social media, all of it is on that one thing. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that does create those sort of interesting checkpoints along the way between now and week 18.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.